For as long as we've been around, we've been asking this one huge question. What is all of this? What is the basic stuff of reality? We've looked out at the stars, we've peered deep inside the atom, always searching for that solid ground that everything stands on. Well, in this explainer, we're going to explore a really ancient concept that gives a radical and honestly a surprisingly modern answer to that exact question.
This is it, right? This is the ultimate question. It's what drives both physics and philosophy, this hunt for the one single, irreducible thing that everything else comes from. But what if that thing isn't a thing at all?
If you look at science, its approach has been to take everything apart. We went from molecules to atoms. Then we smashed atoms and found protons and quarks, always looking for that final, fundamental building block. But it seems like every time we think we've hit bedrock, the ground just dissolves beneath our feet.
Okay, so now let's pivot to a completely different way of looking at this, an ancient idea from the Upanishads, the concept of Sat. Now, this isn't about existence as a noun, like a chair or a planet exists. Sat is the verb. It's the raw, fundamental act of being itself. It's the pure isness of everything before we chop it up with names and forms and distinctions.
This line from one of the oldest texts in human history is so much more than just poetry. It's a massive declaration. It's saying that before there was a universe of different things, there was just being. Undivided, absolute, one without a second.
So how in the world do we wrap our heads around a concept that big, that abstract? Well, the ancient seers, the rishis, they didn't have equations. They used these incredible, powerful analogies to point us toward this reality.
These analogies are just brilliant because they make this huge idea feel a little more tangible. Think about it. The universe is like a web, but it's not spun from some outside material. It's spun from the spider's own body. Or picture a clay pot. We call it a pot, that's just a name and a shape. But if you smash it, what's left? The clay. The underlying stuff is still there. That clay is like Sat. It's also called Swayambhu, which means self-born. It doesn't need a cause to exist. It's not just another thing in the universe. It's the very ground that the entire universe flickers on.
Okay, I know this might all be sounding a bit like mystical philosophy, but hang on, because this is where things get genuinely wild. Over the last few decades, the absolute cutting edge of theoretical physics has started describing reality with language that, well, it sounds weirdly familiar. Just look at this. On the left, ancient ideas. On the right, modern physics. The ancient thinkers said Sat wasn't an empty void, but a full, rich presence. What has modern physics found? The quantum vacuum. What we thought was empty space is actually a seething ocean of energy. The idea of Swayambhu, the self-born, lines up with theories like stochastic electrodynamics, where particles can literally pop into existence out of this vacuum energy, born from nothing but this fundamental field. And then there's the most mind-bending parallel of all. The ancient idea of a timeless isness has a direct echo in the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, a cornerstone of quantum gravity, that suggests at the deepest, most fundamental level of reality, time doesn't even exist.
And you can see this isn't just a one-off coincidence. It's a progression. Back in the 80s, science started to realize that nothing is actually something. Fast forward to today, and you have some researchers proposing something truly radical, that maybe consciousness doesn't come from these quantum fields, but that the fields themselves are just ripples on a fundamental ocean of pure being. This is a really subtle but absolutely massive shift in perspective. That isn't the Play-Doh that the universe is built out of. It's more like the entire cosmos, every star, every galaxy, every single thought you have is the one reality of a Sat, just appearing to us in a dynamic, unfolding process. So we've looked at the maps, we've seen the ancient scriptures, and the quantum physics equations. But you know what they say, the map is not the territory. The next step isn't about learning more facts or concepts. It's about direct recognition. This quote is our pivot point. It's an invitation to shift gears, to move from the thinking mind into direct, felt experience, to stop just thinking about the ground of reality and to actually feel it as our own immediate existence. Just think about it for a second. If you could peel back every layer, your thoughts, your memories, your personality, even the sense that you are an observer watching the world, what's left? It's not some scary, empty void. It's a simple, undeniable, centerless presence. It's just the pure fact that you are. So to make this more than just an idea, let's turn to a really simple, direct practice. This isn't about trying to achieve some special mystical state. It's just about recognizing what is already always here.
The instructions are beautifully simple. First, just settle your body. Then, in that natural little pause after you breathe out, you pose the question, not with your mind, but with your whole being. What is it that is, whether I think or not? Now, the key is step 3. Don't look for an answer in words. You let the question itself become this silent, burning inquiry. That very feeling of burning, that intense, wordless curiosity, that is the experience of Sat. And when thoughts pop up, as they will, you just notice that they're appearing inside of this silent, aware ground that doesn't think. Then you just return to the flame. This is one of the great sayings from the Upanishads. After the inquiry, after that burning question, comes the recognition. Tat tvam asi. It means that thou art. That fundamental reality, that ground of all being we've been talking about, that is you. It's not something far away or separate. It is your most intimate core identity. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. We usually feel like a person inside a body, which is in a room, on a planet, inside this huge universe. But what if that whole model is completely backwards? What if you are not a tiny consciousness trapped inside the universe? What if you are the universe, experiencing itself as a person? What if you are Sat, the eternal flame of being?